Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination to KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. Sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
What are you giggling about over there?
We've had Post Malone as the musical guy of the day probably 15 times already.
Somebody likes Post Malone.
We've had like 3, but okay.
Artist of the day is Post Malone as he opens his big-ass stadium tour at Rice-Eccles Stadium tonight. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com. Question of the morning. Cleveland Cavaliers have swept the Miami Heat in the first round. Do you want to see Donovan Mitchell finally get out of the second round? A trip to the conference finals?
Yeah, he needs it, man, so he can stick it to that GM of Sacramento State.
The Hornets GM. The interview we can't forget.
All right. You suck. You're not good enough.
Kevin, don't care. Moved on from him. I'm thinking about the future with Flag.
Planting a flag for the future.
Hector, don't care to be honest. Josh, don't care about the dude. Brian, I don't really care.
Ooh, man, a lot of apathy towards Donovan Mitchell.
But here's some negativity. Daniel, not really. Not with the way he reacted after the trade. It seemed like he never wanted to be here to begin with.
He was raised right, though. We heard that. Boy, him and Hayward were both raised right, and neither of them wanted to be here.
Did not. When do I get to go? Can I go now?
We need to back off on how great the parents are.
Can I go now? How about now?
First chance they got, they were out, and even Mitchell before the first chance he got. But I would like to see some new meat. That would be fun. I'd like to see a Cleveland-Boston series. Dynamic young players over there with Cleveland.
They look like the two best teams in the East. It looks like it would easily be the best series. And honestly, any other series looks super lopsided, whatever combination you can
you
cook
never know.
up.
But
The Pacers and the Celtics could be a thriller.
Sure, why not?
I don't think Indiana's good enough. Maybe if Boston's hurt, I mean, they're guys.
I know,
who
but
need
you just
that,
pick the favorite every time. You'd go to the racetrack and you'd walk out of there with like $4.
No, fortunately, I don't go to the racetrack.
Why is that fortunate? I mean, so people who go to the racetrack are unfortunate?
Well, if I was only going to walk out of there with $4, you'd make it sound like I would have lost all day long.
No. You would just keep betting the favorite.
Well, the
you would
favorites always
walk out of there with $4 more than you came in with.
Four more.
I forgot. You know nothing about that.
No, there it is.
You can't just live your life playing the favorites. You pick in college, you pick the bigger program, and then, or the more renowned program, and then you pick the favorites in basketball. And that's fine. So you just
Ohio State won it all. So, yes.
Did they?
They did.
I had no idea.
I should have picked a long shot.
Yeah, because if you would have picked Michigan in 2 games prior, you would have won a lot of money. That's the point of gambling, is to win a lot of money. That's why they do that.
Cavs versus T-Wolves NBA Finals, and Jason says that's the what could have been for the Jazz Finals. Do you want to see that?
Yeah.
Donovan and Rudy on the biggest stage.
Oh, for sure. I would love to see that. That's new meat on both sides?
Yep.
Smaller, colder places?
True story.
Yeah. That goes to my theory that we keep saying, oh, nobody wants to, and we don't want to say it because it's sensitive. But what we're saying is black guys can't be happy here. That's what we're saying. We can't say that because that's, you start getting over here and gets people all anxious, and I know you want to run from that, but I'll say it. That's what we're saying, and that would be 2 cold places where black guys have thriving.
Thriving being a new word.
Well, as long as you precede it by have.
Have thriving.
Yeah. It's better than have went.
Well, that's just a matter of choice.
Right, and that's what I choose. I think it would be sweet if Cleveland got in there. And you think about it, if Sam Merrill plays another couple years for Cleveland, there's a very good chance that Cleveland would have more Latter-day Saint return missionaries on their team than BYU basketball would have.
Yeah, get them 1-0, huh?
Yeah, once Baker and Saunders go.
That could be the end of an era. And by an era, we're talking about 100 years.
Or maybe it's tied. Chamberlain Burgess if he's. I heard he was going, but he may be back by then. So, although not next year. So next year. Yeah. Good for the Cougars. Psh, you weren't getting anywhere the other way. Why not try something different?
Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Elite Eight anybody.
They need more than that. Sweet 16. I mean, you're not going to pay all this money and have all this hype with the number one recruit simply to go to the Sweet 16.
Bigger dreams than that.
Oh, for sure. It is
Final
FF,
Four and championship talk.
or Final Four or bust. I'm calling it right now. They don't get to the Final Four. I want a rebate. I want some of the money back I've been given to the collective.
Vernon Ray. I never thought I'd say this, but why the heck did we trade the Spider? I want him back so bad.
Because he wanted Ada.
Because he wanted out to be gone by now anyway. Going to get to the end of that deal and hit the road.
I mean, do you really want someone who doesn't want to be there?
No, you do not. You don't tend to get their best. And once he walks, then if you get nothing back, that really sets your franchise back. So you got to trade and get something. If he's
This
not going to be
didn't
there.
set the franchise back?
Would have sent the franchise back further. Yes, it sent the franchise back. But it would have sent it back further.
I don't know about that.
Oh, really?
They said the worst season, so they would have won 14 games versus 16.
Well,
how much more back can you go?
As further back as they want to go. I mean, the more guys
But what's
they
the
sit-
difference? If I drown
No,
in 1
that-
foot of water versus 10 foot of water, the result is the same. So it doesn't
dead.
matter.
You're dead.
Yeah, they're dead. I don't know that he could have sent the franchise back. It literally makes no difference if you only win 10 games versus 16 games.
Right. Well, the difference would be you have all these draft picks going forward. You make yourself better. Now, if they miss on the guys, then they didn't make themselves better.
Right, and if that referee would have made that call in the third quarter, everything would have transpired exactly the same. You don't know that if they let Mitchell walk, that everything that they would have done transpires exactly the same.
No, but you'd have the draft picks, and you're hoping you get good players with those draft picks. It gives you more chances to get good players.
Right, but how do you know they couldn't have made other deals and kept Mitchell? That's what I'm saying. They could have made other deals and
Well,
maybe...
I don't think they could have kept Mitchell.
It's not about keeping Mitchell.
Well, you just said they could have kept Mitchell.
To his contract, they were going to keep him.
Right, and he'd be gone by now.
That's the time he would only the time he'd be able to leave. I thought that was understood, that if they kept Mitchell, it would be until his contract expired. What I'm saying is, if they kept Mitchell until his contract expired and then he leaves, I don't know that every single move that they made would have been exactly the same. Now, all of a sudden, you just don't have Donovan Mitchell. I mean, there could have been any number of things that they could have done.
They could have traded him for a veteran star. What if that had, and just keep going. If that was possible.
Is he that good?
I mean, that's what we're finding out in these playoffs. I guess the question is, would another team with a star believe he would have been that
See,
good?
I don't think he is the star of Cleveland, though.
Well, he was the star of the Jazz.
Understood. But would another team trade a star to get Mitchell? That's the question. Now, the question wasn't whether he was the star of the Jazz. Would another team trade their star to get Mitchell? I would think that I would have doubt on that because I don't think Mitchell is that good of a player. They were going to have to get guys that were perceived not as good to get Mitchell.
In which case, then you really value the draft picks and hope that breaks your way. That Cleveland isn't good that whole time.
Yeah, I'm not a big hope guy.
Yeah.
Hope. The more hope you have, the less success you have.
Well, that's what they got. That's what they got out of that trade. So it pretty much had to come down to hope.
That's not true. They got Markkanen and Sexton. So
And you hope they get better. I mean, it's all hope. You're betting on the future.
no, they don't hope. If you're in hope, you're Charlotte. No, you need to have an idea. This guy is. You think Ainge hoped that Jason Tatum was better than Markelle Fultz? He knew damn well that Jason Tatum was better than Markelle Fultz.
And I don't think he thinks that Markkanen or Sexton is Jason Tatum.
You don't? That's not. Do you think that's bold in saying that?
No. And
He
I
had
think
to get
that's why he's
something
under-
back.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was
that's what
about hope. It
that's
wasn't
what I
about
said.
hope, though.
That's what I said. Why not?
Because that doesn't get you anywhere. I don't want my GM making moves based on hope. I want him making moves based on conviction, not hope.
he had the conviction that this was the best deal he could get. And you hope it really pays off, but you don't know.
Wow.
You don't know where those draft picks are going to fall for starters.
I don't care where those draft picks are going to fall for starters. I got Nikola Jokic. I can go down the list. We've done this a million times. Jay-Z said it himself. No matter where you draft, your charge is to get a good player. It's not about hope.
And now he's got 3 more chances to get a good player. And yet the best player in those drafts could still be drafted right before they pick wherever those picks fall, 5, 15, 25, whatever.
I agree. But it's not based on hope. Why do all this research then if it just boils down to hope? Man, if they're picking a guy and their number one goal is hope, yikes.
Well,
I want conviction.
I
want be able to them do their homework to the nth degree. And they may be still wrong. I understand that. But I can live with that. But if you're going in, we'll take him and hope he's good. No, not at all. Not me. Maybe you can do that. That's fine.
They took draft picks that were 3, 5, and 7 years out. They don't have any idea.
Those are all facts. I can't argue any of that.
Well, they don't have any idea who's going to be good when it's time to draft.
When it's time to draft,
hoping that works out when they make the deal, but they can't possibly know in 2022 who's going to be available and where they're drafting.
I'm not asking them to know 5 years ahead.
Well, you just said you want a conviction.
Yes, when the time comes to make the pick. Yes, I did.
Yeah,
and
but they had to make the trade.
I understand.
Then.
I'm not criticizing the trade. I'm 100% fine with the trade. The trade was made. I supported as much as I possibly can. My point, I'm moved on from that. My point is when it comes time to make the selection, whether it's 2057, I don't care whenever it is, you better have conviction that the player you take can be what you're looking for. I hope he can. No, I strongly believe he can. We all have faith in God, right? But none of us, at least I haven't seen God. So I get it. There's faith involved, but I got to have way more than simply faith. I got to have conviction that I believe that what I've been told, and through my own firsthand experience, I've experienced miracles and all these types of things to know that there is a God. It's the same type of principle here. I ultimately, until I see the face of God, I will have never seen the face of God. And ultimately, until that player proves he can play, there's got to be some faith. But I can't just go into it and say, man, I hope he turns okay. And then, I got 3 players that I'm choosing from. Boom. So I flip a coin. Yeah, I'm going to take this one and hope no. I got to have conviction. Ainge had conviction that Taylor Hendricks will be a player by the time he's 25. There's not any hope involved. He doped out. We literally saw in his handwriting how the draft would play out. And so he knew that Hendricks would be there at 9, which is why they had no hesitation to take him. I don't think it was hope. It was projection done by experts in the field, knowing that injury or what have you, if he was a knucklehead, it doesn't appear that he is, there are other things that can derail him. But I don't think they take these guys based on hope.
The Cleveland pick that they got, they've already unloaded. That was part of the Phoenix deal, so we're not going to see the first payoff in that. The first one was they were supposed to get this pick in 25, but they've moved that thing on down the road in exchange for a Suns pick in 2031. So
fact,
it's gone.
Yeah.
As far as the waiting to see what the payoff will be from those draft picks, we'll have to wait 2 more years.
And I don't think that had hope into it. I think they looked at it, saw where Cleveland was going to be, saw where the draft was going to line. They could probably tell you the 27 draft and have a decent idea of who's going to be good. That's why hope is a minimal factor. It's all about research. They just didn't willy-nilly make that move. They felt that, I have to believe this is what they felt, that they knew, hey, they weren't going to get what they're looking for, so let's shoot for something else. And maybe in 2031, we can get what we're looking for. But maybe we get to 28, and all of a sudden, Phoenix has made 4 or 5 different moves and whatever they do, and they're looking really good, so they change that again. That's strategic movement. It's not about hope.
Well, it is strategic, but they're still hoping that thing pays off in 31. Who knows where Phoenix will be.
We're hoping that we don't get hit by a car tonight. I mean, we get that, but I just don't think they make moves by hope, and I really can add nothing more to it.
Got a question up on Twitter. The Cavs swept the Miami in the first round. You want to see Donovan Mitchell finally get out of the second round. 59% are saying, yep, I'm a Spider fan. 19% for nope, he wanted out. 22% for I don't care, it's coop time.
And the good thing about it, though, if you don't care, I don't think that Mitchell is the star of the team, so he's going to get most of the credit. The Cleveland is the essence of team. I don't think they have a big-time star. Mitchell's very good, but so is Garland. I can argue Garland. Now, he didn't play last night. His toe was hurting. And their front line of Jared Allen, of Evan Mobley. I mean, you got Locke saying, well, the Mobley got the Defensive Player of the Year, and he felt that Jared Allen was just as good, if not better. And that's pretty good. And you got Strus, who's got some big-time playoff experience, having come over from Miami. And they've made a nice trade with DeAndre Hunter. You know, there was a while there that people around here were excited about that young man. And I get it. I get why they would be excited because he's a decent player. And they got this Ty Jerome coming off the bench, adding a lot of firepower. When I think of Ty Jerome, I think of a player along the lines of Jordan Clarkson. He can light it up for you any given game. So the good thing for those of you, and I don't hate Mitchell whatsoever, if you're concerned that he'll get the glory, I don't think that he's unanimously the lock best player on that team. He could be on many nights, but this is more of like the Detroit Pistons. I forget the year that they won it, when they didn't really have a true superstar. No, they caught a break in terms of beating a dysfunctional Laker team, but that sucks for the Lakers. That takes nothing away from what Detroit did. So you don't really have to worry about that. I want to see it because it would be, I agree with you. There's no doubt that Cleveland and Boston are the best teams in the East, so why not see the best teams?
Give me the best series. I have way more anticipation for that than I do for any other potential matchup.
And also, I think something like the Warriors to a degree beating Houston, they're up 3-1, and having them have success. If I'm the commissioner, the last thing I want, maybe not the last, but you get that just poetically, that another team way down in the standings, slogging through the regular season, getting a guy on their team because he refused to play for Miami and give any kind of effort, so he whined his way out of Miami, and then having that team, I don't know that I like that, because that sends a bad precedent. Hey, you don't like where you're at, just piss and moan, and you can get out of there, and they'll send you to a team where you can really be good, and you can enjoy the last laugh. There was a video, and I don't know if it's true, but I saw it on social media when he saw the score in the Miami game. It was like 40-15 after one, so it was over nearly as quick as it started. And Butler's on the floor warming up, smiling, laughing, clapping. Is that really what I really want as a projection of my league?
That's what is the word I'm looking for?
Crappy.
No, I was
sucky.
No, it's when you already know it. Rhetorical. That's a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the answer is no. You don't want that.
But on the flip side, if you got the two best teams in the East, well, that shows that there is some oomph to the regular season. These teams have been the two best teams, and so it comes to pass in the postseason that here they are, and throw the ball up in the air in game one and see what happens. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I would have tons of anticipation, and that would be something that I really want to watch right from the start. As it is now, I sort of check in on the East, and then when the Western games go.
There was no reason to watch a 55-point blowout last night.
Well, I watched a little bit of it, and then I turned it off.
Yeah. As I'm sure many people did.
Yeah. I thought,
except in Cleveland where they savored it.
This game is over.
Yeah.
No. And you're not coming back from that, especially when you're down 3-0.
The response we haven't seen
mailed it
here,
in.
Yeah, the response we haven't seen here that I thought we would, and maybe it's just out there and people haven't posted it, is that I don't want to see Cleveland win because I know that could have been the Jazz. And that one I would totally get. too painful. If he goes out there, and I get your point about team, and there's always some truth to it because all the stars need team around them, and Cleveland might be playing the team card a little harder than most. But he'll still be out there scoring 25 or 30 a game, and he could have had a team around him here. And to some degree, he did. I mean, they had the sixth man of the year, and then they had the runner-up in the sixth-man voting. So they were leaning on team a little bit. I get that it hurt to sit there as a Jazz fan and think, that could have been us. And you don't want to see that. I get why some fans would. But no one's put that up yet. I thought we would see a lot of that.
Yeah, but he'd have to win 2 more series to get that.
He would.
And I don't think they're good enough.
I would agree, probably because of the team thing. You usually need a star with the team, and that they just don't have a big enough star. Also, it's probably just still too early for them as far as having the experience. They haven't been there now. Maybe you don't need that as much anymore. Maybe that was more then than now. The Celtics went down, that path on the way there.
That's his 3rd year?
Yes. Yeah, it's his 3rd year in Cleveland. But as far as, he hasn't experienced a conference final, he hasn't experienced an NBA final. So... and neither's anybody else on that team. So are they going to be able to pull it off when they get there? But I can still see Jazz
have to get
fans.
there first. I don't know that it's a when.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's more of an if.
If they beat the Pacers, assuming the Pacers are going to close out the Bucks without Lillard here up 3-1. So that's their
I thought you were talking NBA Finals.
Oh, it's definitely an if for that. I mean, I could go with they'll be the heavy favorite against the Pacers, but still an if. It isn't done till you're done. I mean, he and the Jazz were heavy favorites against the Clippers when they were up 2-0, and we know how that turned out.
That is a painful memory.
Yeah.
And you like to be positive.
Well, nonetheless, there it is.
Okay, next time I'm negative, Yock, I'm just going to say, nonetheless, there it is. In fact, you cut that, and so when he gets on me for being negative, I want you to just play, nonetheless, there it is. You got me? It's okay, Mr. Positive, when he's negative, he's just keeping it real. When I do it, I'm Debbie Downer.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Right. It's a phrase that he does not utter often, but a phrase that he thinks often. I hear you.
Which phrase is that?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Shaq's got a new gig. We'll get to that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. And Eric Francis, senior NHL columnist and analyst for Sportsnet, on the NHL playoffs at 8:30. Riley Jensen is talking transfer portal at 9. Stay with us.